Boilermaker fans, what's going on? It's the Big Time Boiler. Well, I owed a video, man. I owed a video. The last video that I did was the pre-Notre Dame game. And I thought that Purdue was going to compete against Notre Dame and at the very least make it a game. You know, I don't know if I predicted a win or not, but I thought they would make it a game. And a lot's happened since then, and it's not good, folks. It's not good. Purdue has been de-pants multiple times. The train is off the tracks. And I cannot believe I'm saying that, 1 week in October. But Purdue's done. And I can't believe it. You know, I predicted seven wins, which, looking back, is crazy. Now, we knew this was a tough schedule, right? We knew Purdue was probably in the ballpark, more likely of 4 to 5 wins, maybe 6. You know, I was being optimistic. I thought, if everything kind of clicked, we could get to 7. Now I look like an idiot. But, I mean, there's been total regression. That's what nobody predicts regression. And this team has regressed horribly. Just not good. Not good. And I wanted to really make a kind of longer deep dive video on what the heck has gone wrong for Purdue the past couple weeks. But unfortunately, you can probably tell I have a cold. I wanted to make a more professional video this week while I traveled to Wisconsin, of all places. I unfortunately was not able to do that. Still battling this cold, but I thought I would get on here while I drive and just kind of give a quick, few-minute breakdown of my thoughts, because I owed a video. And it's a lot harder to make videos when you just don't care about the season anymore. And that's kind of where we're at. That's a sad place to be for Purdue fans, man. What is wrong with this team? A lot's wrong with this team. The offense is really, honestly, the defense is not good either, but the offense is where it starts. I figured this offensive line would have been much improved. All the guys, 3 guys are back from last year's team. On paper, this is a better on paper. Purdue's better everywhere. Offensive line is much better on paper. That's not come to fruition for whatever reason. Quarterback, we should be better, but Hudson Card's regressed. Now, some of that might not be his fault. He's got no time to throw. The wide receivers are terrible. Now, wide receivers, they have dealt with injuries. So, going into the year, C.J. Smith, we thought would be a number 1 or 2 guy. Jamal Edrin's been banged up. He's not fully healthy. But still, that unit's been a disaster. The offense in general, besides the running backs, have been a disaster. The only good team positions on this team seem to be is the punter, who's been our best portal addition. How funny is that? And the running backs. Tight ends have been okay. But other than that, it's disasters everywhere. Defensive line's been trash. I mean, just terrible. So it's where do we go from here, right? Where do we go from here? That's the $1 million question, because in this day and age of football, now if this was 2000, let's just go back to the Darrell Hazel, and I hate comparing. I don't like comparing eras. Hazel and Walters are completely different in my opinion. Walters can at least recruit. That's a different beast. But anyway, you go back to that era. Let's just say his era. When there wasn't this NIL stuff, there wasn't a transfer portal. Even at that point, I don't think really even grad transfers were a big thing yet, and that happened more towards Brom. That time you might give a coach 3 seasons. This day and age, man, with the transfer portal, with NIL, if they have as bad of season as Walters is having right now in year 2, after having a 4-win season, a 4-win season, year 1, all the goodwill is gone. It's gone. This Purdue fan base is over it. They're done with them. It would take an absolute miracle to get that back. I mean, first of all, he has to win against Illinois this weekend. Has to. And Hudson Card has a concussion. So I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, Ryan Brown coming in, I'm not exactly impressed with Ryan Brown's throwing ability. Now, he can run it, so maybe that's what this team needs, is basically an absolute Navy/Army type approach and just run the ball and that's it. And occasionally throw a deep shot, but he has to beat Illinois, which again, they're I think 21-point underdogs. That's not going to happen. He's got to beat them, and then he's got Oregon on Friday night, then a bye week. So there is a very real possibility Purdue gets crushed by Illinois and then gets an absolute boat race by Oregon. Now, Purdue actually probably, college football's so weird, so watch Purdue actually beat Illinois. That's not going to happen, but watch it actually, be a close game. Graham Harrell, was basically, put on a railroad spike, like, get out of here, man. He was kind of the guy that fell on the sword. Looking back at it, maybe it wasn't all Graham Harrell's fault, but the whole coaching staff's broken. The whole team's broken. It's just, again, to use a Boilermaker type phrase, the train's off the tracks. So where do we go from here? And another thing, Purdue has 3 of the top 4 teams in the top 25 left in the schedule, and then 2 more teams that are ranked in Illinois and Indiana. Oh man, things aren't looking brighter, man. The only win on the schedule that they can maybe win is Northwestern, maybe Michigan State. But even let's say Purdue, and this is probably the best case scenario. Well, not close to best case. Purdue gets. I'm trying to think how I'm going to phrase this. Actually, it's best case and worst case in the sense that, let's say Purdue gets beat by Illinois, right? Let's just say they get beat by 2 touchdowns. They get killed by Oregon like they have been against the other teams. Bye week, they somehow beat Northwestern, so they win 2 games, right? And then they get killed by Ohio State and Penn State. So now you still have 2 wins there. And then they let's just say they somehow beat Michigan State. So they win 3 games. I don't even know if Purdue beats. That might be the worst case scenario, because if Purdue somehow would beat Northwestern and beat Michigan State and give them 3 wins, then people might be like, well, I'll give Walters another year. I would almost, and this is, I can't believe, I'm one of the biggest diehard Purdue fans, out there. And I call myself an expert. I'm clearly not an expert because I got this team completely wrong. And expert's not a good word to say anyway. Invested, I guess, is probably better, and educated. But even then, to my point, I almost want Purdue to get their butts handed to them so they move on from Walters at this point. 'Cause I don't think there's anything saving us. And in this day and age, I kind of danced around this, but in this day and age in NIL and transfer portal, he's kind of a dead man walking here, guys. What are you going to do? You can't keep them. We already lost 3 or 4 recruits already. And then who's going to want to jump on the train? With, again, a dead man walking. Transfer portal is going to be terrible. You're going to lose a lot of guys probably. And you're not going to be able to bring in a bunch of talent. So unfortunately, in this day and age, I think you got to get rid of them. You got to fire them. And then bring in a coach. And this kills me to say because, we hate their guts. But IU, they may have got lucky, but IU made the perfect hire where they brought in a Kirk Signetti who was able to bring in 14, 15 players from James Madison with him. And he brought lower level players, I think, in the same league. We need basically that exact same kind of situation where we get a guy that can bring in a roster like that, bring in 10, even 10 guys, with them to help create some stability. That's what Purdue needs. And it's actually funny, the James Madison coach currently, I think, would be a good hire. But so there's going to be a lot more thoughts on this going forward. I just don't see Purdue. Something's got to be going. Something stinks, man. As far as and Purdue, the media picked them last. So they were, but I don't even think the media, even Big Ten Network, they didn't think it would be this bad. Somebody had to get picked last. I think there was a group of teams, 4 teams probably that were 14 and 18. They kind of grouped them in there. And honestly, I think Purdue's picked last because of the schedule. Purdue's not competing. That's the number one thing here. I'm not even so mad about the record. If Purdue was 1-4 right now, and they lost by a touchdown in Wisconsin, lost by a touchdown to Oregon State, lost by two even 3 touchdowns to Notre Dame, and Nebraska by a touchdown or 2, we would not be having this conversation. Be like, we're pretty close. We just need to, it'd be kind of the Scott Frost Nebraska thing. Close, but we're not there yet. We're not even in the same league with these teams. Wisconsin's not a great team. They're an average team. And they did pants us. We are not even in the same zip code as anybody right now. And I just don't see how it's going to get better. So, this might be my last video for a while, guys, until some more news happens, because really there's not much more to update on. Things are really bad. If Purdue somehow beats Illinois, then things might get a little more interesting. There might be some conversations to be had about really what's going to happen. How I think it's going to happen is Purdue's going to get beat by Illinois. Purdue's going to get embarrassed by Oregon. And people, I think, at that point will be calling for Walter's job. Kind of the last point I want to, again, I don't want to make this too long. One of the last points I want to make is, they fire Graham Harrell, whatever. How pathetic is it that there is nobody on the main staff that can even take over to call plays because nobody has experience. This staff, looking back at it, Walters he dropped the ball with some of these hires. He got some good recruiters, but from the actual coaching ability, he should have hired a Jerry Kill type guy. Someone like a Jerry Kill, a former head coach. Jerry Kill would be perfect. Somebody like that would have been the absolute perfect pairing to go with Walters. Help him learn some of the ropes. I think at the end of the day, this job is just too big for Ryan. I think Ryan's a good dude. I got nothing against him. I still like him. I wish this could work out. I don't think it is. Unfortunately, it's just I think he's burned. He's I don't want to say burned bridges. He didn't do that. He's just sinking. He's on the Titanic, and the ship's sinking, and there's nothing that's going to save it except an absolute miracle from God. That's pretty much it, and I don't think it's going to happen. So, I'm rambling at this point, but he made some hiring mistakes. He should have hired some more veteran coaches, and maybe we would not be in this position. But we're here, and So what I was saying was, if we get beat by Illinois, get beat by Oregon, at that point you're 1-6, right? And if you get killed by both those teams, 30-point losses, let's just say, at least 30-point losses to Illinois and like a 50-point to Oregon, you might as well maybe fire Walters going into the bye week, because what's the point? But then again, who are you going to hire, or not hire, but promote to be the interim head coach? Corey Patterson? Corey Patterson is not qualified for that. At this point, honestly, I would just promote Jason Simmons, because he's playing from way behind here, but he did some wrinkles a little bit against Wisconsin. We actually looked decent the first couple drives. We did things there that we haven't done all season that would have probably worked earlier. And the offense kind of stalled, but he actually seemed on the sideline like he presents himself as like a head coach. And I'm not saying he's a good coach by any means, but just give him the reins of the program and then go out and search for a new head coach. But I just can't believe we're in this situation, man. I really can't. And I wanted to come on here and make a video. I don't know how long this has been. 12 minutes. That's long enough. It's just pretty depressing right now to be a Purdue fan. And the worst part about it is there's no hope on the horizon. So, it's bad when somebody like me is basically done with the season, and the most exciting thing I'm looking forward to is the coaching job. So that's where we're at, man. Pretty depressing, and coming to you with a raspy voice. So just not. Things are looking bleak, man. Things are looking bleak. But hey, miracles can happen. If Purdue somehow beats Illinois, maybe things go a little. But the thing is, too, is that schedule's so brutal. Oh man. All I wanted was us for to compete, and that didn't happen. So, I don't know if I said this or not, but the offensive line has been an absolute disappointment. I cannot believe how much they've regressed. I thought they would be a strength, and that's one of the reasons I thought this team would be much better. But it just hasn't happened. So, all right, man, we've rambled enough. Almost 14 minutes. Boiler up. It's almost basketball season. We'll get through this. And again, luckily with the transfer portal and revenue sharing, things can change very quickly. We could be, again, even if I think we brought in the right coach, 6 wins again, it would be the goal next year, but it's more possible than, I think it's more possible getting to 6 wins with a new coach than it would be with Walter. So, signing off, Boiler up, God bless. See you.